With Donald Trump back in the White House, the U.S. is bracing for the economic impact of his proposed tariff policies. Housing affordability has deteriorated drastically over the last 5 years across the U.S. due to a historic shortage of homes, skyrocketing prices, and high interest rates. Hi, Emily Farber here, your favorite Iowa YouTubing realtor. I create content all about Iowa, the Iowa City market specifically, and real estate. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. During the 2024 presidential race, Trump promised to improve affordability in the U.S. housing market by deporting thousands of immigrants, a move that he said would increase housing inventory, and by imposing tariffs on foreign nations, which he said would boost the U.S. economy. However, some experts fear that Trump's policies could make construction materials used in new builds more expensive and create a labor shortage in the housing sector, potentially bringing the cost of housing even higher. President Trump signed executive orders imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, with the exception of Canadian energy products, which will face a 10% tariff. Imports from China will also face a 10% tariff. While these tariffs were expected to take effect immediately, the administration suddenly pivoted and announced a 30-day delay for Canada and Mexico, allowing businesses, consumers, and the housing market a brief window to prepare. However, the uncertainty surrounding these policies is already causing ripples in the real estate industry. Tariffs on Canada and Mexico are likely to lead to a sudden increase in construction costs. A substantial portion of the U.S. building materials are imported from Canada. The proposed tariffs are expected to raise the costs of these materials, which will then likely be passed on to the consumers, the home buyers, aka you, leading to higher expenses for homes and home construction renovations. To give you an idea of what these increased costs look like in new construction, here are some numbers. Lumber, which about 30% is imported from Canada, could raise prices in new construction $8,000 to $12,000 per home. Steel and aluminum, which is about 40 to 50% imported from Canada, China, and Mexico, could lead to an increase of $3,000 to $6,000 per home. Concrete, which is about 15% imported from China, Spain, Canada, Germany, and Mexico, could increase home prices $5,000 to $10,000 per home. Plumbing fixtures and appliances, 50% which are imported from China, Germany, and Mexico, could lead to a $5,000 to $10,000 increase per home. Windows and doors, which are 40 to 50% imported from Canada, China, and other European nations, could lead to a $5,000 to $10,000 increase per home. Electrical components, which are 70 to 80% imported from China, Vietnam, and Mexico, could lead to an increase of $2,000 to $5,000 per home. When you tally this all up, it's a $20,000 to $55,000 or more increase per home, which is about a 5 to 10% increase. Any which way you slice it, it's looking like tariffs are going to lead to higher costs for new construction, upward pressure on resale home prices, and market uncertainty. Let's break it down. Number one, higher costs for new construction. The biggest and most immediate concern for the housing industry is the impact of these tariffs on new construction home prices. The U.S. home building sector is heavily reliant on imported materials, and tariffs will significantly raise costs for essential goods used in the new home construction process. About 30% of softwood lumber consumed in the U.S. is imported, largely from Canada. Sheetrock, also known as gypsum or wallboard, is imported from Mexico. The 25% tariff Donald Trump levied on goods from these two key trading partners will make those products much more expensive. The Mexico and Canada tariffs were postponed for a month, but they are still on the table. More than 70% of the imports of these two essential materials that home builders rely on, softwood lumber and sheetrock, come from Canada and Mexico, respectively, said Carl Harris, chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. Tariffs on lumber and other building materials increase the cost of construction and discourage new development, and consumers end up paying for the tariffs in the form of higher home prices, he said. Builders are already contending with a labor shortage that is only getting worse after the Trump administration started their mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. Roughly 30% of construction workers in the U.S. are estimated to be immigrants, and a significant share of those workers are undocumented. Without that workforce available to build houses, delays and additional expenses are all but guaranteed. The National Association of Home Builders projects that the U.S. will need about 2.2 million new skilled construction workers in the next 3 years in order to overcome the current housing deficit. The National Association of Home Builders is asking the Trump administration to exempt building materials from the 25% tariffs, noting his executive order on the first day of his presidency that sought to expand the U.S. housing supply. Even with the temporary delay in tariffs for Canada and Mexico, some builders are deciding to hold off on new projects, or they are adjusting their pricing models in anticipation of higher costs. If tariffs go into effect as planned, builders may slow down production, exacerbating the already tight housing supply and driving prices higher. The impact is expected to be the hardest on small builders who operate with tighter margins. This development in the housing market could be especially painful for first-time home buyers who are already struggling with affordability due to high mortgage rates and limited starter home inventory. 2. Upward pressure on resale home prices. When new construction slows or becomes more expensive, it puts an additional strain on the resale market, and here's why. If builders pull back due to rising costs, buyers have no choice but to turn to the resale market, which is going to cause increased demand and competition for existing homes. Increased competition results in prices that rise faster than the normal rates of appreciation. Additionally, renovation costs will rise for homeowners looking to remodel before putting their house on the market. If they're facing significantly higher costs for projects involving materials like lumber, tile, plumbing fixtures, and appliances, these increased expenses are going to lead to higher listing prices. And move-in ready homes become more valuable. Buyers are going to shy away from considering fixer-uppers if renovation costs skyrocket. Instead, they're going to opt for homes that are already updated, and again, those prices will be driven upwards. While some homeowners may benefit from this appreciation, affordability challenges could slow the overall number of transactions in the U.S. housing market, and that is difficult for everybody. Number 3, market uncertainty and its effect on buyer and seller confidence. The uncertainty surrounding tariffs is already impacting the housing market. Buyers are hesitating, with construction costs potentially rising, interest rates still being elevated, and economic concerns looming. Some buyers are taking a wait-and-see approach until they have more clarity on how the housing market and the economy will be affected. Builders are reassessing their plans. Some developers have already paused or adjusted their projects to account for these potential cost increases, further tightening up the housing supply. And investors are on edge. Real estate investors, especially those involved in new developments, may delay acquisitions, or they may offload properties if those rising costs eat into their profit margins. The bottom line is that although we are in a 30-day delay of implementing Trump's tariffs, the housing market is already feeling the effects of this uncertainty. If tariffs move forward as planned, They will likely drive up new construction costs and put upward pressure on resale home prices. There will be hesitancy amongst buyers, sellers, and investors. The next month will be critical in determining whether these tariffs become a long-term reality or if specific adjustments are made to lessen their impact on the housing market. One thing is certain, real estate is never boring. Hey, it's been fun, and I'll catch you later.